Okay, what's more preposterous here for you? That a bunch of Somali immigrants fleeing famine and civil war with no money, no formal education, and a 70% illiteracy rate could come here to America and by the thousands set up super successful home health care businesses, daycares, and autism clinics and literally make billions of dollars, which they stuffed into suitcases and flew from America to Somalia several times a week for years, and now drive around Mercedes-Benzes and live in affluent Minnesota neighborhoods. That, or that the entire Democrat apparatus knew nothing about it. I know. If you listen to two former presidents, the answer is clear. It's all Trump's fault. Duh. Let's bring back the panel. Antoine Thomas hosts the podcast Fighting for the Truth with Antoine Thomas. Jennifer Kelly hosts the Jennifer Kelly Show on AM 970, The Answer, out of New York and New Jersey. And Ray Stevens hosts the Ray Stevens Show on WLS, 890 AM out of Chicago. Jennifer, you're up first. Presidents Barack Obama and Bill Clinton, they weighed in this week wild on the Minnesota, protests. They poured gasoline all over the fire. President Clinton posted on X. He writes this: in recent weeks, we've watched horrible scenes play out in Minneapolis and other communities that I never thought would take place in America. People, including children, have been seized from their homes, workplaces, and the street by masked federal agents. Peaceful protesters and citizens exercising their constitutional right to observe and document law enforcement have been arrested, beaten, tear-gassed, and most searingly, in the cases of Renee Good and Alex Preddy, shot and killed. All of this is unacceptable and should have been avoided. It's interesting pushback, Jennifer, from Clinton. Like, he couldn't be bothered with that whole congressional subpoena to testify about his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein, which is like on the back burner. But this he weighs in on. Jen, tell me why.
Well, it's a great change of story for Bill Clinton, and anyone who believes what is coming out of the mouth of Bill Clinton. I mean, I have some oceanfront property in Arizona to sell you, but don't forget, it was Bill Clinton who presided over the war in Somalia. Remember the movie Black Hawk Down and the Mogadishu Mile? Well, Democrats have turned Minneapolis downtown into the Mogadishu Mile, where ICE agents and other, even local police officers get pelted with all sorts of projectiles when they go into that 1 mile stretch of downtown Minneapolis. So, Bill Clinton doesn't have the best record on Somalia. He probably should sit this one out, but no surprise there. He's wading in because it benefits him.
I agree 100%. And Ray, President Clinton continues. He says, this is great. Over the course of a lifetime, we face only a few moments where the decisions we make and the actions we take will shape our history for years to come. This is one of them. If we give our freedoms away after 250 years, we might never get them back. Like, President Clinton says nothing about the astonishing fraud, committed by so many in sanctuary city Minneapolis, but he sounds like he wants the unrest to continue, and curious that his post has the comments made private.
First of all, Jennifer, I didn't think we were going to pull a George Strait song out on this show. Oceanfront property in Arizona. Love it.
Let's go.
Clinton, it's like, what? This is good. I don't want to follow any of the Epstein Island stuff. We can forget about it. Let's talk about Minneapolis. Hillary's mad at me. It's so ridiculous. If people were peacefully protesting, cool. We wouldn't be sitting here having this conversation, right? But it's a diversion for everything going on, as you said, Wendy. Why is it? I'm in Chicago, and you guys know Chicago's a mess, right? There's protests going on in Chicago, but it's not like this, because as messed up as this city is, I don't think we have this amount of fraud. I know we have fraud, but why is it only going on in Minneapolis? Why? Why is that? And gee, I don't know, because Somali fraud. The crazy thing is, if I would have opened a Somali daycare center, I could have retired 10 years ago and got out of this radio gig.
You could have.
But here I am. All it is virtue. It's virtue signaling. It's virtue signaling, and it's defer from the shiny thing. Get on to the next thing, and maybe people will forget about it. It makes me absolutely sick.
It's also, Wendy, it's also exactly, they're doing in Minneapolis this incubator politics, right? The same thing they did in Colorado 10 years ago with the blueprint. They flooded a red state with all sorts of protests, Antifa, so on and so forth, and they were able to flip that state to blue. That's exactly what it's about.
Yes.
And how are people supposed to act if you have Antifa Kyle? You You have Antifa Kyle saying that he's going to take up arms. You're going to a specific neighborhood. As a police
It's
officer would
crazy.
know, that is a specific threat, and you have to take that
That's right.
seriously. There's nothing peaceful
And
about
we
it.
Well,
do.
Antoine, I want to bring you in here because President Obama also weighed in on the same day, writing in the same format on X that Bill Clinton did. And this is how his letter to America begins. The killing of Alex Preddy, he writes, is a heartbreaking tragedy. It should also be a wake-up call to every American, regardless of party, that many of our core values as a nation are increasingly under assault. You know, I don't remember Obama saying anything when Charlie Kirk was brutally assassinated in front of his wife and children. Do you imagine Charlie's death was also a heartbreaking tragedy to the former president?
He never spoke about it. And you know, the reality is, by the way, Ray, that was a great impression you did of Bill. Moving on. When you look at
Moving
that,
on.
that's right. Barack Obama, under his leadership, let's talk about what he did. He deported over 3 million illegals. So he doesn't mention that. Matter of fact, they had coined him the deporter in chief. So he doesn't want to talk
Yes,
about
he
his
was.
record. Yeah, he did. As a matter of fact, so far he has deported the most illegal immigrants, but we don't hear about that, and we never will, because that's not the narrative that they want to push. So we sit here, and what we talk about is this: we have to get the illegals out. Definitely the gang members, the ones that are affiliated with the heavy gangs, MS-13s, we need to get them out of the
Right
country.
on.
And law enforcement is not pretty. And what I said before is this: unfortunately, the good have to suffer with the bad. Do you think ICE wants to go
Yeah.
in and kick doors in and see people riding down the street and try to identify who they are? They have been
No.
forced to do that. And the reason why, Wendy, this is why, because we have weak leadership on the sheriffs in our state of North Carolina and many other states that have sanctioned their cities to be sanctuary cities. Therefore, their men and women cannot go
Crazy.
out and do what they need to do. So when they bring those subjects into the jail, they're supposed to go under a ICE investigation to make sure that they have no deportation detainers for them. Unfortunately, they cannot do that. So ICE is forced now to
Yeah,
do the
it's
work on their own.
It's a quagmire that's of their making. I agree. Jen, I'm going to give you the last minute here. You know, there's no mention of Obama or Clinton, of any of this fraud, right? Nothing of the Somalis, the fake businesses, the bogus clinics, the thefts of billions of U.S. taxpayer dollars. No mention of criminal illegals. No mention of Megan Boss, a 37-year-old mother from Washington whose decapitated body was found in a container at the home of an illegal immigrant from Mexico, or of Maria Plitus and her 11-year-old daughter, who were both killed in a car crash last July caused by an illegal alien, Raul Luna Perez. It's amazing what Democrats, even former presidents, care about and what they don't. Jennifer, it's on you. Last minute.
Yes, it's, this is the real war on women and girls, the 10.2 million violent illegal criminals that Joe Biden let into the country. And look, speaking of the hypocrisy, it was Barack Obama that kept kids in cages. And guess which U.S. senators voted for a stronger border fence? It was Bill Clinton's wife, U.S. Senator at the time, Hillary Clinton, along with Barbara Boxer, and also then Senator Barack Obama.
Imagine.
Wow, you're giving me flashbacks here. You guys, I'm so delighted that you're here. Welcome to the new faces, and I hope you come back. Thank you, guys.